Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. And thank you, Derek, for that introduction. Also, thanks to my good friends and partners at Bloomberg and Banque Nationale for the opportunity to open this year's conference. It's really an honor to be with you again. Today, I'm speaking to you from the Consulate General of Canada in Manhattan, and I want to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral territory of the Lenape peoples, who have stewarded this land over generations. Now, for those of you not in or from New York, we just had high-level week at the UN with some 80 world leaders in town, bringing both inspiration and chaos to the city. And despite the disruption to my morning commute, it was really nice to see the city bouncing back. This is my 4th year in New York, and along with high-level week, this annual conference has become a rite of passage for me from summer to fall. It is unique as there is no other event that brings together such an outstanding collection of economic and financial experts to talk about my favorite subject, Canada. And what timing for this year's event, because as you may have heard, we had a federal election last week. Now, from the outside, the new government looks very much like the previous one. And while we won't know the details of the new government's agenda until the cabinet is sworn in, I think it's safe to say that we can expect continuity. I was reading Adam Gopnik from the New Yorker, and he suggested that stasis is perhaps an underrated virtue in political life. We can be sure that the major priorities for Canada will remain: 1, focusing on mitigating the impacts of the pandemic and supporting affordable living for Canadian families, and 2, to continue to focus on an inclusive economic recovery, which remains committed to the fight against climate change. 18 months ago, when the pandemic hit, we took strong measures to protect Canadians. Wasn't easy, but we're now seeing the signs of recovery. And as we start to turn that corner, I am confident that we've got a great story to tell about why Canada is such an attractive and exciting investment destination for US and multinational companies to expand their operations. Since we last met, Canada's GDP and employment numbers have continued to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels. And the Conference Board of Canada projects that the Canadian economy will expand by 6 or 7% this year. Now, that's good news, but we're not really interested in returning to where we were. We definitely need to adapt. The pandemic has disrupted our supply chains, the way we work, and what we do. Our focus must be on the future. Canada is moving forward with a focus on 2 key themes. The first is innovation. Our technology ecosystem is vibrant in areas like artificial intelligence, biotech, renewable energy, financial technologies. Indeed, just last week, in the area of renewable energy, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced the selection of Hydro-Québec's Champlain Hudson Power Express project to deliver clean hydropower into the heart of New York City. A lot of our success in Canada is driven by our universities, which continue to nurture domestic talent and attract foreign talent through strong immigration programs. When I talk about immigration programs, as an example, our global skills strategy brings top talent into Canada with a visa within 2 weeks. This builds predictability and certainty into employers' bottom line. The key to Canada's future prosperity lies in talent acquisition and nurturing. The second priority will be climate change and infrastructure. Combating climate change is integral not only to our economic recovery, but to building a more sustainable future for all of us. This year, we'll issue our first ever green bond, and we've accepted an invitation from the COP26 to work with Germany in mobilizing support to commit $100 billion a year to combat the impacts of climate change in the developing world. These efforts are creating significant investment opportunities for sustainability or climate finance as we work toward our goal of net zero emission by 2050. Now, when I think about our actions on climate change, and from where I sit in New York, I am heartened to see such a strong alignment with the US administration, the Biden administration, if you will. We have a roadmap signed by our two leaders, Prime Minister Trudeau and President Biden, and I'm glad to see alignment on so many fronts: labor, environment, and an emphasis on promoting middle-class prosperity. We're on the same page on other areas as well, including an overdue need to focus on gender diversity and inclusion, particularly in corporate disclosure. Canada has made a lot of progress in this area over the last year, and I believe we're going to see more on that front. Like any good neighbors, there are some points of contention, and I would suggest to you that there is considerable concern back home about creeping protectionism that is making its way into state and federal legislation. Whether here in New York, across the river in New Jersey, or in Congress, Canadians are nervous when their largest trading partner starts putting up barriers, and inevitably it generates talk of buy Canadian. Not healthy from where I sit. But we believe there's far more that unites us than divides us. In fact, the pandemic has laid bare the interconnected nature of our supply chains and the importance of the flow of goods and people over our shared border. Over the past 18 months, we've been able to keep our trade flowing, whether it's PPEs, food for our tables, or workers for critical infrastructure. A further testament to the importance of our relationship was the reopening of the Canadian border to vaccinated US citizens on August 9th, ahead of a larger opening to international travelers earlier this month. You know, these are just a few examples of how we can achieve more together. And when I look at the global supply chains and the way that they're being retooled, I believe we're going to need more of these joint efforts in order to stay competitive. We need to be strengthening and protecting the North American supply chain. There's been a lot of disruption. We don't know yet how the pandemic will evolve and eventually end. But I'd like to add one more thing I'm sure of here, and that's no matter what the challenges ahead, Canada and the United States will fare better when we address them together. We have a great relationships. We're friends and neighbors. We build things together. We drink the same water. We cheer the same sports. We listen to the same music. The foundation is in place to chart a joint path towards recovery and greater prosperity for our citizens. I'm really excited about what we can accomplish together. So now I'll hand things back to the real experts. I know this event will boost your awareness and understanding of the opportunities in Canada and why it's such a great place to invest. If you're looking at doing business in Canada or you're looking to invest in Canada, please do reach out to us at the Consulate General of Canada. We'd love to work with you. Thank you and bonne continuation. Merci.